Let me tell you the story of how I'm made. For thousands of years, ever since the Yidden left Mitzrayim in the year 2448 of creation, I've been baked nearly much the same. Most people still prefer to bake me by hand, in the same manner their grandfather did it, stretching back hundreds of generations. Let's start from the moment the wheat stalks stand ripened in the field, ready to be cut. Many people begin to watch me from the moment I'm cut. They're extremely careful that no water gets next to me after I'm cut. This is called Shmura Mishas Ketzira. They protect and watch me from the time of cutting. For the Torah says that one must watch the matzahs. Should any water or moisture get into me after I'm cut, I may of course turn into chametz and would be totally unfit for Pesach use. Others, however, first begin to watch me from the time I'm ground. Then I'm called Shmura Mishas Tchina. One must handle me very carefully even while I'm only a sack of flour, lest any moisture gets into me. I must be stored in a dry area. I'm formed from only two ingredients, water and flour. Most people use flour made from wheat. However, any of the 5 grains, Chameshes Mine Dagon, can be used just as well. However, the mitzvah min amufcha, the best choice is wheat. The water used for my preparation should preferably be drawn from a well or river immediately after sunset during the twilight hours, and then left standing overnight in a very cool place. This is called mayim shalanu, water that has stood overnight. You must certainly be careful to keep it out of the rays of the sun. Some people even strain it to make sure it's perfectly pure. It's even best to make sure that a Yisrael draws the water from the well, and in the process he should also say, Hareini shoyev l'shem matzahs mitzvah, that I draw the water with the intention of making matzahs mitzvah. The flour, which is naturally kept in its own room in order to keep out any contact of water, is now ready to be measured and weighed carefully to ensure that the consistency of the dough should always be the same. The little window is open, and the flour is poured into a perfectly clean and sparkling basin. The water, which of course has its own room too, is now measured carefully. The window is open, and the water is poured directly into the flour. It's from this moment on that one must watch me very carefully, for under normal conditions it would take 18 minutes, and I may become chametz. In fact, many times, because of the heat in the room or the warm hands that need me, it can even happen in much less than 18 minutes. That's why things must really move fast now. See, his hands need me so quickly. As he says, l'shem matzahs mitzvah. Speed is most essential. Not being left a moment without the dough being worked on. It's taken him all of 10 seconds to form me into this beautiful piece of dough. Sometimes I'm even pressed and even softened a bit. I'm now passed out to all the Valgara. That's the men and women that take the piece of dough and flatten it out and shape it into a beautiful round matzah. All that's needed is a wooden stick called a Valgeholz, a rolling pin. Look at the little piece of dough begin to shapen up. Look at those hands moving so quickly. The dough shouldn't be left unattended for even a small moment. At the same time, of course, one must remember to say L'Shem Matzah's Mitzvah. Our great Chachamim would always endeavor to help along themselves in the process of making the matzah. For surely, mitzvah boi yaisa mi bishluchai. It's preferable to do a mitzvah yourself rather than through a messenger. One must make sure that this table is far removed from the oven, so that no heat from the oven whatsoever can get into the room. It should also be kept out of direct sunlight, of course. Usually it only takes a minute or two to flatten out the dough into a nice, large, thin matzah. Even the paper tablecloths that are used are changed constantly because of the little bits of dough that get stuck to it. That's why the people must wash their hands and especially scrub under their nails every 18 minutes. Even the Valkeholz, the rolling pin, is constantly sanded down and cleaned thoroughly. Every possible precaution is taken. For who would chas v'shalom even want to have a mashahu chametz, even the tiniest amount of chametz in his house on Pesach? After every single use, the basin is washed and scrubbed thoroughly. The matzahs are now ready to be passed on further, so that the holes can be made in them. The purpose of the holes is to keep the matzah flat in the oven and prevent it from blowing up. Some use a large machine, such as this, while others use a smaller one. It's extremely important that these machines get scraped and cleaned out properly. For dough can easily collect between its teeth. It only takes a second to make the holes, and then the matzah is put on a long wooden pole. As soon as 5 or 6 matzahs are hanging from the pole, it's taken quickly and put into a large matzah oven. A large oven such as this can usually contain about 30 matzahs, while a small one like this can hold only 6 or 7. The oven has been well heated, using plenty of wood, so that the matzahs will bake fast and well. One should be careful that the matzahs don't touch each other in the oven. It takes a good eye to watch the matzahs and see when they're finished. Take them out too soon and they just won't be fully baked. Leave them in a little too long and they'll be burnt. Actually, it usually takes less than 5 minutes from the moment the water touches the flour until the matzah is taken out of the oven. And that's quick indeed. Look at those round, crispy, thin matzahs. They look so good. But wait, they still can't be eaten. We must first cover them and say the bracha. Asher kedishanu b'mitzvaysa v'tzivanu lahafresh challah. Break off a small piece of matzah which we throw away. Now we're ready to pack them and check them carefully. This matzah is folded over at the end. It's called kefula. It's not eaten because it may not have baked properly. Sometimes the matzah gets a little blown up, and that's called matzah nefucha, and should also not be used. And now that we've finished baking our delicious matzah, it's time to start preparations for the Seder night. Do a good job of searching for the chametz the night before Pesach. And don't forget to burn every crumb the next morning and be mevatel all your chametz in your possession. Set up the ka'ara and under it the 3 matzahs. Remember, it's the middle one we break for yachatz, and put the larger piece away for the afikomen. The matzah is called the lechem oini, for the whole story of Yetzias Mitzrayim is told over it. It's also the poor man's bread. and a poor man has only a small broken piece. We eat the matzah, because it's a remembrance of when the Yidden left Mitzrayim. They were in such a hurry that the sun simply baked the dough while on their backs. And so make sure to lean on your left side while eating it, for it must be eaten derecheus, like a free man. There's much more, of course, to learn about matzah, but that'll be all for now. So we do hope you've enjoyed learning about how matzahs are made, and we do hope you'll really enjoy eating those delicious, tasty, crunchy matzahs at the Seder night. We wish you a Chag Kosher v'Sameach.